obviously and we're just going to go through a lot of review from the coaches clinic, because I know it's been a couple months and now we're in the hard press of it where we actually have to do stuff. And then we'll do a little review of the website, how to go through assigned rosters. This will be really good for the managers and whoever's in charge of stat keeping and stuff like that. Then I'll give it up for our umpires. Richard and Cam are here with us today to go over a few things. And then we'll go through just some basic stat stuff. And we have lots of resources for you guys throughout the season. And we have a couple members of the board here today. Pat's filming for us. So if you ask any questions, make sure they're loud, so that way it can pick up on the mic. And then Sarah so graciously got us the room here at Riverdale. And then Paige is here clicking slides for us. All right, so we'll get started with coaching certifications. We all know that those are due on the 18th to the league reps. We've been through this time and time again. We need US lacrosse level, so this is for head coaches, USL level 1, and if you can't get it completed before the 18th, just let me know, we'll get a date happening. No, don't fret, these will all go out to everyone, all the slides and everything, so if you don't write it down, I'll do it. CPR and first aid, that needs to be done every 2 years. It just has to go through the end of the season, so if you have one that expires in the middle of the season, you have to have one all the way through the end of May. You need to be a member of US Lacrosse. Make sure you go do it early because there's a background check involved now that could take up to 10 business days to process. So make sure you get in, take care of it now instead of waiting to the last minute because it may be pending when we need it to be. The OGLA Code of Conduct, when you go and register as a coach, you'll have to read through that and accept. It's pretty standard, it has not changed. We hold our coaches to a pretty high standard. Concussion training, if you haven't done it after the first of the year, you need to redo it because they want you to have the most up-to-date certification. There's a couple different links that I sent out to all the coaches and managers. Those are acceptable. Anything through NFHS or Concussion Heads Up is usually a good one. You'll send those to your league reps as well. And then a background check. Usually your club will keep one on file, but now US Lacrosse has one that's mandatory. And so all of these are due to the league reps by the 18th. There's not really much of a difference for the assistant coach. They just don't need the CEP. We always recommend the the CPR for assistant coaches, so that way you have some help out on the field. But concussion training is also required for that. Please make sure that anyone who will be solo coaching has head coaching requirements. If you're the head coach and you're going to be gone for one day, your assistant coach must be qualified to run a practice all by themselves. So keep that in mind when registering for the CEP courses. Make sure everybody on your staff is ready to go.
Also, when it comes to this stuff, when you submit to your league reps, make sure that you have everything sorted. So Allie's come up with a system where all certifications are going to go into a Google Drive, but it's going to make your life and your league reps' lives a lot easier to have all those at once and have them labeled with your name and program and then where you save them. That way they can go straight into that Google Drive and she can go in and check it off so there's nothing holding you up to start a practice. You have to worry about your kids' USL numbers and all that stuff. You don't want to have to not start practice because a coach doesn't have a certification in. So just be wary of that.
We keep tabs on those, and so we'll let you know which coaches are and are not ready to go. But we did have to go out last year on the first day of practice and tell some people that they couldn't be out there. We had to send them home. So please, please, please get everything into us, because I know that you may be certified, but if we don't have it, we don't know. And then in terms of registration, if you've registered before, your name and email are in there. You can just click the forgot password link, because let's be real, we only use it 3 months out of the year. And it will send a new thing for you, and all you have to do is go in and click register, select your team, accept, notify that you've done all the certifications for CPR, CEP, and the concussion training. You don't have to upload files through there. We got rid of that this year because it was such a hassle. And then you're good to go. This has to be done before you can assign rosters or upload anything. So you have to be assigned to your team before you can assign kids to it. Just the scheduling reminders. I know we've already gone through the schedule. one thing this year, our set date, February 22nd, is the last day to add any games. So if you are thinking about playing someone, you need to get them on the schedule before the 22nd, because I'll tell you what, when you see your team on Monday and go, oh, they're wicked good, maybe I want to play this person, that's not okay anymore. Because of how our ranking systems work, we want to make sure that it's fair and everyone has a set date, so February 22nd. If there are any changes that need to be made for whatever reason, contact your league rep, work with them, figure out how it's going to work in our schedule, and then communicate to OGLA once you have the change date, so we can communicate effectively with our players. Just the dates and deadlines again, it'll be uploaded. It's the same stuff we saw earlier. Nothing's really changed. Same thing here. Oh, our WDNT tryouts, we do have that date set. It's actually the 14th, not the 24th. But they'll be at noon on April 14th at OES.
Hey, Ally, the Jamboree, and I signed up for it, but I can't remember, which day is JV and which day, it's not both days for both?
No, so JV is on Saturday the 9th and varsity is on Sunday the 10th. And our Jamboree is full at the moment, so anyone else who registers will be put on our wait list. Everyone who did successfully registered was sent an invoice. If you didn't get one and think you're supposed to be registered, let me know. But haven't heard any issues just yet. Okay, we're going to go through a quick little website review. I will show you how to assign your rosters through the website. So once you're registered, all you do is sign in. And there, we have a cheat sheet for this as well, so it's got step-by-step instructions. Went through it today, it's still accurate. But you'll go ahead to your admin tab at the top, it's red. And you go to Teams and hit Assign Rosters. And through here, you only have to change a few things. You want to make sure that you put your team, so I'm going to use Westview. And you only want to do the players. You don't want to put any parents or any coaches on your roster, so players only. And you can use, if you go in multiple times, you want to click on currently unassigned selected teams, because if you assign someone to your team already, you don't want to see them again, it'll bog down your list. Gender, female, between grades 9 and 12 for this current school year. And you can click on assign jersey numbers from previous teams if your kids carry over. That way there's some already in there for you. And hit search. There's nothing you need to do on this screen. You can just hit submit. All right, this is the fun part. So through here, you can see that I'm already registered as a member of the Westview team. And what we'll do is you'll go and pick each of your individual kids. So the best thing to do is have a list next to your computer and cross them off as you go. You'll notice there are lots of duplicates. We tried to add the youth database and there was a glitch. So there are some duplicates. You may stumble across a few, it's okay. We're slowly working on getting rid of them. Once we get kids assigned to teams, it'll help. But all you do is click on your player. I'm only going to add one. Okay. Once you click on your player, they will pop up on this left-hand side. And you can click on as many as you need to. You will put all of the kids on the varsity roster to start. And then after your tryouts are over, you'll go ahead and move them to the JV roster depending on what team they make. So save roster. And it'll come up with a whole list, and she's got her number 3, good to go. You'll just hit, you can either clear the jersey number, you can fix it, you can leave it. I recommend leaving all of the kids, instead of putting their positions, leaving them as players. It's easier when you're doing stats to differentiate between a player and a goalie. That's just my recommendation. And then save roster. And so it'll say it's successfully assigned. And then what you can do is go through the team schedules and stats to view your team.
Alan, what if you have swing players?
You can assign them to multiple rosters. I'll show you how to do that right here. And you don't need to label them as swing, and you can keep them as player if you want to.
But they can be both
But
varsity and...
They can be on both sides, yes.
And so if they don't, like let's say they swing up for one game, but they never swing again, like it's okay to just let them hang there. They'll just never have any more varsity stats, but they'll get the JV stats.
Okay, so from your home page, you can click on roster. And you can see our player right here. Please don't worry, as a coach, you're able to see their information. Nobody else can. So don't stress about that. This information is stuff that either the kid has put in or the parents have put in or you upload, but it's only visible to you. We have it set that it's not shown on the roster for everyone's visibility.
And for the record, we got permission from this kid to make this.
That's why we're only doing one.
Paige, just to clarify, you said if it's like a one-off swing up, that's cool, we don't have to roster them on varsity?
No, you do.
You do, they just stay there.
They just stay there.
Oh, got it.
So
And you have to roster them before the game or roster them like when you stat them?
If you have any inkling that a kid is going to swing up at any point, I would just stick them on the varsity roster. And then,
Sometimes you need to swing a kid up when you have a numbers problem.
Like I've been there. It's like, if it's on the fly, just make sure that the
You get
table is
her
keeping,
stats in.
and then when you or whoever's doing it adds them in later because they
Got it.
have to be in there on the varsity roster. Right?
Yes, okay.
and in terms of eligibility to play, they have to be approved by OGLA to play, to do the swing anyhow. So as long as all of their information is in the system, it's not a big deal. You just have to communicate with the other coach. From this page, you can click on the edit button and look at the player's profile. And in order to assign them to a second team, you can do it like this if it's on the fly, or you can go and assign them in the repeat process. But if you go through here, I can assign her to the, oops, not JV Sunset. I can assign her to JV Westview as well. And hit submit. And so she'll appear on the varsity roster and on the JV roster.
And this goes for any varsity player swinging down to JV as well. So if you've got a tight, number of kids and you got to play, but someone's mostly playing on varsity, they need to be on the JV roster as well.
And then one of the tedious things that we have to do is verifying everyone's USL number. So how you'll do this is through the edit button again. You'll go to their personal tab, and hopefully there's a USL number in there. If not, you'll likely have it from your registration. You can hand enter it. And all you have to do is click check USL. It says, is current and good through 9/30/2019. Okay, and it turns green. If it turns red or disappears, it's a no-go, it has to turn green. When we run the report on our side, it'll tell us all the people that have turned green and all the people that are good to go. That's the report that we run constantly before the beginning of season to let you know which of your players are able to play. We try, please try to get as many kids as possible registered in the system, USL verified by the 22nd. That is a Friday, because that gives us all weekend to hunt people down who haven't gotten their kids ready. So please, as many kids as you can get in. I get last minute registrations or kids that add late, but we don't want to be scrambling on Monday for you to get these kids out to tryouts when everybody's scrambling. So if we can get the problem solved during the weekend, that would be fantastic. So the 22nd of February.
Allie, what if we utilize the opportunity to purchase insurance to cover our programs like we've done you know, we have kids that they already pay a fee, I don't want to charge them, and they go out and they decide not to play. Now they pay for this membership as well.
Right?
And so we choose, St. Mary's is covered by, you know, finding an insurance provider that will cover them for the week. So how do you propose we put these kids in, they're not going to have a number that shows up?
So all you have to do is you will still assign, you'll do the rosters just as we did. We've done this in the past with you, that you have to submit the Bollinger to us.
Right.
And so that way we have verification that all the kids are insured. And then after that week, we'll verify all of their US lacrosse numbers for the rest of the season. All right.
And just make sure, I know that I see a lot of very familiar faces in the room right now, and you guys all know that everyone has to have a USL number and they have to go green. If they step on the field without a USL number, or they are not registered, or something has been a glitch in the system, and they're on the field first day of tryouts, it's a big no-no. So make sure that you have all this done. If there's an issue, which inevitably there usually is every season, talk to us at OGLA, we'll do everything we can to help get your kids, you know, the right kind of number, look it up on the back end, all that kind of stuff. But it's really important for you and your program as a huge liability for our entire state to make sure that kids do not step on the field that are not prepared. I've even had to sit kids over the years to, you know, our first day of practice. They were returning varsity players and they didn't do their thing on time and they had to sit. And so it sucks, but you gotta hold the line, so.
Right. We're gonna go over stats after our umpires, so I'll show you how to enter stats at that point. But I'm gonna hand it over.
Hang on.
Unless you have
Hang
any
on.
questions.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you covered how to upload the roster with the kids that are already there. So are you still using the CSV file to get kids that are not on the roster there?
sir? Yes.
Okay.
I will go back to that. Hold on one second. So, okay. The other part of doing the import is that you may have freshmen that have never played before that aren't in the system. And you will have to import members. We have another sheet for this as well, telling you what information you have to have in order to be eligible by OGLA standards. But what this is you can click on this properly formatted. There's lots of help here, which is great. And it'll tell you exactly the format that you need to be in. You download the template. So there are so many boxes here. You do not need to fill them all out. No, that's terrifying. You only need to fill out a select few, and it's listed on our instruction sheet, which ones. And in doing that, you'll save it as a CSV file, and pull it up from here, just hit choose file, grab it, and import. And what that'll do is it'll take all of their information and put it into our system in a group, so you don't have to hand enter each kid. And then once they're in there, you can go through the assign roster process and put them all on your team. You will only do this for kids that you cannot find on the list. My recommendation is to go through, find all of your kids, and then add the missing ones. Because you may have, you know, sophomores that it's their first time playing, but it'll most likely be all of your freshmen that you'll have to add. And if you put all that information in on the front end, it's less work by going through and editing each kid on the back end. So, any questions on that?
No.
Thank you.
You can do it one at a time too if you want to.
Yes, you certainly can. You can go, let's see, and just hit add member. So if you only have one kid, go for it. Super easy. You can even assign them to their team from here as well. So it's pretty simple, self-explanatory. If you ever have any questions through here, these little question mark buttons are fantastic. They will push you right to the help section that has anything to do with it. And as always, you can email me if you have any questions. I can see a lot more from my side and help you figure out where your kids have gone or disappeared to or anything like that. So, because they do go missing every once in a while. Okay. Any other questions?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure, let's see what you put up first.
So all those duplicates, does it matter which one you hit? So I was curious.
It does, but if there's 15 of them, don't bother worrying about which one you hit. Once they're assigned to a team, I can filter that out and then delete the rest of them. Of those 15, there might be one with the USL number entered. But if you have it, it's going to be way easier for you to just hand enter it and keep going on with your life. And most of the duplicates will likely be your freshmen who were in the OGLA system and have now been merged over to the OGLA system. And this only is applicable for letters A through I. So anyone with the back half of the alphabet.
First or last name?
Last name. There's no duplicates for J through Z. Fun fact. Like I said, glitch. It was a glitch.
Hey, I'm Richard Calderwood. I'm on the OGLA board and also the OLUA board and the ref, and I have 5 kids that play, and I don't have time for an alcohol, etc. addiction because I have lacrosse. So there's a couple of big changes in the rule book this year, and one of them affects your support people, because this year we've had problems in the past where the fields weren't marked exactly correctly, and the most common thing is that the dots were missing. Starting now, it's crucial, you gotta have the dots, because there's a new penalty administration for everything that happens inside the 8. If there's an 8-meter free position shot that's being taken on any of the hashes, including the hanging hash, we not only clear the 8, we clear the entire penalty zone, and it's this yellow area, so it goes clear back to the dots. We've got to have the dots on the field. So if there's a kid standing right here, when we go to clear, her shortest path out is right there. So she's got to have the visual, and we've got to have the visual. Am I out of the PZ yet? I'm backing up, okay, now the dots are in front of me, I'm out, I'm good. So we've got to have those. It's super helpful if the little unnamed tick marks are here. Curiously, the rule book doesn't have a name for these things. Everything else has a name except those. And a lot more penalties are going to be administered at the dot this year. WCLA has gone with the NCAA rule books this year, so if you're in the habit of kind of going to college games or watching some games, don't try to take too much learning away from it. Take some skill away from it, but don't try to figure out what's going on with the game, because they've collectively lost their minds. Seriously. Yeah. The NCAA game has taken a turn for the surreal. Any questions about this stuff?
Yeah, I do. So moving forward, I think, I know Hill High has a brand new turf field that just got lined, and I think it's the universal lines for boys and girls, and I know Century is putting in a turf field.
Awesome.
They're going to line it with the universal field. I don't know if the universal field uses that, so are we required to go
that
do
unified field, what it has is, instead of the boys' crease and the girls' goal circle being in different places and 1 foot different diameter and size, now they're the same place, the same size, and the restraining lines are 25 yards above GLA instead of 30 yards above. That's cool. That's allowed in the rule book. That's great. We've still got to have the dots, even if they're not permanently cut into the turf. Just get out there and spray paint or put some tape down or just something so there's a visual.
And without the dots, it makes the game severely confusing.
Yeah, because okay, you're going to go with the dot. Well, it's even with that thing that you kind of can't see from where you are, and it's 5 yards back, not 5 meters back. And you keep going, go over there. It's just too confusing for everybody.
What are they doing with colors? We used to say blue and white, boys and girls.
Colors aren't defined.
That's actually not even in the rule book. That was sort of just tradition and convention. And it's super awesome having red marks on a green field, since 15% of Caucasian males have some degree of red-green color blindness. No joke. Always looking out for us. Okay, let's move on. What's next after this? So, the big deal here is, and we need people to take this seriously, especially in youth games, but also very much high school. 4-meter safety corridor. coaches don't get to stand. By rule book, coaches don't get to stand on the sideline. You're watching an NCAA Division I game on TV, they're standing right there on the line, their rule book allows it. Because the NCAA doesn't care about safety. Did I say that aloud? Sorry. Yeah, so this is for the player safety, the coach's safety, and the ref safety. And the collisions always happen when the coach is standing talking to her goalie, and the play comes at him from this way, and the ref is run out of bounds by the players swinging the ball to the boundary. And the ref is running this way, looking on ball, and neither of them sees each other coming. It's very bad. So this year, we've got to be really sticky about that, and it's not just us being big fat jerks, it's us looking out for everybody's safety. Safety, safety, safety. So please, just stay back, and if you get all your players back, you can still see just fine. And there's nothing in the rule book that says they can't be 5 meters back and you can still walk in front of them. Because they don't even see.
The other thing about being back is the table will be able to see, and with the new rules, it's very helpful if the table can see what's going on, because the game goes way too fast.
Yeah, so with the self-starts coming this year, we don't have free movement, but we do have self-starts, much, much faster paced game. I've had, I had 5 college games this weekend and 13 USL games at the Sandstorm the weekend before, and a couple of fall ball tournaments, and bing, bang, boom, the game is moving. Yep, good to go. Points of emphasis. You want to do this or you want me to do this?
Go for it.
Okay. Allie asked me to talk very briefly about the points of emphasis for this year. Shooting space, they have added, didn't add in the words looking to shoot, like in the NCAA rule book we used to have, and with opportunity to shoot. Just a little more emphasis on, is everything about her really going to goal? Does she really have a legit opportunity? And they, at the convention, they made a really big deal about the phrase, active pursuit to goal. Is she going to goal? Where's her feet, where's her hands, where's her stick? But we do have to be somewhat cognizant of there are kids who have mad stick skills that will take the Canadian twister. So just because they're cradling doesn't mean they don't have an opportunity to shoot, because I've seen that go in from some kids at pretty good velocity. They don't wind up, they just snap it past the goal. So that's one. Rough and dangerous play. The game's been getting rougher over the last handful of years, and USL's trying to dial it back.
I will say for coaches, all of the officials training this year is on the horizontal stick. So they are really emphasizing any dangerous horizontal stick check. And I'm telling you, it's video after video after video, drilling it into the official's head. So
yeah, and if the defender is just emotionally upset that she got beat and that kid just scored on her goalie and decides to just lay one into her after the fact, just expect a card coming. You just can't lay out a kid because she was so rude as to shoot. This one is an interesting one because this one is not directed at y'all. This one's directed at the refs. Refs have been wildly overcalling empty stick checks. And it's fascinating because we hear it from the players on the field all the time. Empty, empty, empty. Why are people so upset about it? It's a microphone. It's a triviality almost always. The big issue this year is it intentional or is it incidental? If the draw goes up and 2 players jump up to try and catch the ball and their sticks clack, that's incidental contact between 2 players trying to play the ball. Now, same exact thing goes up, and I just time it just right, and just as Tina's about to catch the ball, whack, I just club her stick. I'm not trying to play the ball. I'm trying to prevent her from playing the ball. So that's an intentional empty stick check. That one's going to get called. Same thing down on the ground. If 2 people are just digging for the ball and their sticks are touching, it's not a foul, as it should be, right? You see a lot of nodding hands. Yeah, that's good. Good change. So we're going to try and teach all the refs, don't overcall. Just think about what their intent is. Are they playing the ball? No, it's straightforward. Good. Move on. Okay.
So shooting space seems like it'll be called a little tighter than the rule book called for last year, with opportunity to shoot.
Less. Otherwise.
I guess that's what I'm asking, because I might not remember the word correctly, but I think it's something like opportunity, and now it's active pursuit to goal.
I'm going to point the finger at the refs again. I have felt for a while that we refs as a collective community have not been sufficiently consistent in what we call, what we don't call. And I think this is a big effort to try and have more consistency so that you have some predictability about what's going to be called and what's not. If somebody is clearly running past the goal, and as the lead ref, I can see her eyes are on this kid over here. She's just looking at the pass. She looks terrified. I haven't seen her take a shot the whole game. She's just not going to get the call, right? But if she shows me she's going to goal, great, there you go. There's a kid parked up there. This weekend up in Ellensburg, had 5 college games, and it was breaking my heart that the offenses didn't understand the rule well enough. So can we go back to the field, the one floor? So offense is running around right here with the ball. They're not in the CSA, so the shooting space rule isn't in effect. That rule only comes into being when the ball's in the CSA. Defense posted up playing lazy D right here at the 7.5 or the 8.5 or the 9. The offense is running around, oh, she got me covered, darn. Instead of go to goal, show me that you're looking to shoot, and as soon as your foot touches that line, good, here's your goal. And on the weekend, I'll bet they gave up 200 shooting space calls because they went, oh, darn, she's got me marked. No, she doesn't. She's in shooting space. Just step in and get the call.
That aggressive offense play, that's been a problem for me last couple of years.
Yep. Backing them down, trying to crash them to goal. Yep.
Yeah, what I think would be charging calls are often not called.
Yep. Agreed, 100%. And we talk about that. That was a big deal at convention last year. Somebody was standing basically just screaming at the refs, the offense fouls. Why aren't you calling it? Right? It's not just the defense that fouls. The offense fouls too. And another one that's a hot button for some of us is getting through traffic with that illegal cradle. Ha can't check me. Right?
I just got a couple of things to add too from this, from a coach's perspective. As much as it's all good for all of us to know these points of emphasis in the room, and they are said at the start of the first few games of every season, make sure your players know what's up here. Because especially with things like the empty stick check, you don't want to have your player being like, oh my God, she empty stick checked me, when it's just like, play the ball, let's go, right? You want to get them back in play. Same with the rough and dangerous play. If their emphasis is on that horizontal stick, I coach club as well, and I know when kids travel, that horizontal stick is left a little bit loose when you go out and play club ball when you're traveling, right? Make sure that when we're in the regular season, it's that straight up and down, it's that good defensive stance, okay? Those are things that kids need to play, because they're like, oh, I got away with it, XYZ, coach, blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to play the game for the game here, and so make sure your kids know that. In terms of the shooting space and intent to go, they can use that to their advantage if they know the rules. So make sure that you are explaining that to your players. It seems like a no-brainer. As coaches, we're so focused on skill and speed and all this stuff. If they know the rules, they can play this game better. So just make sure that they know what's up. Not just on the points of emphasis, but if you go to the USL website, there's a whole new updated version of all the new rules, all the little idiosyncrasies of it, and the reason and rationale behind it all. So educate yourself, educate your kids. There's no excuse not to.
And if you want us to show up at a practice and ref a scrimmage or just have a chalk talk or whatever, I think tons of us would be enthusiastic about doing that.
One thing on the new rules that it's not really on the slide, but will help you with the self-start. As the referees, have your girls look at us. If they are unsure, can they go? We will not be saying go, but we will be saying you may self-start. So if they're hesitant in that thing, have them look at the nearest official to them. But one thing that we noticed last weekend at Sandstorm, which was the first big tournament, is the girls just kind of look around and they don't know find their nearest official. And most of the time that official is either waving them or saying you may self-start or on you, but we will not be saying go because we don't want to prevent a false start.
Am I correct in taking the self-start rule that if a girl self-starts and she shouldn't have, she just gets called back?
Yeah, it's not a gotcha, haha, you jumped and you forgot we're under 2 minutes, right?
Lose the mindset of a false start. So if it's not on the 8, just lose the mindset. We're just going to reset them and then go.
Yep, it's not a gotcha.
And USL, I hate to keep pointing back to them, but they have lots of good information on their website. If you go, they have a whole self-start FAQ. With like, I mean, it's like 4 pages long. Go read it, and it'll explain a lot of it. Some of those little things that you're thinking about will be answered in there too.
Richard, do you think this is a progression to free movement in the future?
I predicted 6 months ago that we would have free movement in 2020. I'm sticking with that prediction.
At convention, they pretty much said that.
I think this was baby steps,
Yeah.
test, toe in the water, and I think through the fall ball, they said, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's coming.
We still have states that only have 1 official on games, and one of the requirements for free movement is 2, if not 3 officials on all games. So that's kind of where they're going, especially varsity games. So that's kind of the hesitation of why they're not.
Speaking of which, we need more refs.
Yeah.
Recruit your friends. It's fun.
There's another
other
PowerPoint.
things. Yeah, there was a.
So will all of these slide packets get sent out? And they'll be shown on the website, in the document.
Everybody's going to love self-starts. It'll take players 5 minutes of your first game to kind of get their head around it, and then almost all of them will just be doing it. There's very few times when you cannot self-start. If the foul is called inside the CSA at either end, even going out, it's not a self-start. Goalie's ball is never a self-start because she's in the CSA. Last 2 minutes, anytime this clock is stopped, offsides is always a whistle start because we have more administration to do. We've got to move kid back onside and all that.
And the officials are being trained to be preventative. So like, you know, when we blow a whistle in the 8, we're reminding the girls, you know, on my whistle to try and help prevent. The only tricky one that seems to be coming up all the time is the goalie restart the circle coming out from a boundary ball.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, everyone should be somewhat familiar with the carding form. We've changed it a little bit this year. It has a little bit more information on it. I would suggest that at the beginning of the season, print out a whole bunch of copies of these, have them with your stats book, that way they're at the table. This form needs to be at the table. Every game, during the game, the referees come in and look for this form. And if you can please have it filled out so that at the end of the game, it's ready to go. You're not starting to fill it out at the end of the game. That will just help our referees.
Entering, actually recording.
Yeah, so
The refs are going to walk out with this.
yeah, so make sure that the refs take this sheet so that the cards are actually also duplicated in your stat book, and that you actually report those cards to OGLA. I know there's different forms for different reporting for yellow and red cards, but this is not the only thing that gets reported. So make sure that you also report cards. We're going to be kind of cross-referencing these reports to what's getting reported, just to clean up some business. Is there any question about the form?
You'll submit this form to the umpires, and then if there are any red cards, you will send an email to OGLA, so that way we can record those and take care of anything that needs to be taken care of, letting people know if their player is not eligible for a game or whatnot. But that goes with the umpires. You record yellows and reds on your stat sheet, and I'll show you where to do that. And then you report the reds via email to me as well.
Home team or both teams?
The home team is responsible. The home team is responsible for reporting all red cards because they are the keeper of this form.
And all yellow cards into the system.
Right. You're responsible for your own yellow cards as well. It's a good thing, you know, if you played a team and you're like, wow, they had a couple yellow cards. Maybe check their stats, right? We're gonna hold league reps a little bit more accountable this year for helping out with that, because there are times that things get missed. So they'll be, reviewing yellow cards, seeing if there's anything that's not matching up with what Alua is reporting back to us. So please, 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 let's hold each other accountable, because at the end of the season, when when Sally Mae, we all know that she's had 30 yellow cards, but there's none reported. It's hard for the kids who do have yellow cards and they did get reported, but for some reason hers aren't. Right? We want to make sure that all things are reported, good, bad, and ugly, because every goal we report, still got to report the yellow cards too.
And other than misconduct, cards are essentially all major safety items. So the reason that Olu's going to watch dogs a lot more tightly this year, like I'm personally going to look at the reports every night, is safety. And if somebody's getting a lot of yellow cards, it means they're just not safe and they need a tune-up.
Is there any other questions around the officials that you might have?
So I'm new to this, so I apologize. So this form will have these, and then the home team gives, the referee takes the whole form?
So we'll take this form.
And then we record it in the stamp book, and we use our stamp book. So
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the season, just print out a line.
And have backups, because
Take a
sometimes.
picture of them for our.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of teams do take pictures of this as well, so at the end of the game. Any questions?
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Actually, can I ask you a quick question? Is
Yeah.
there, and I don't know if we're gonna address it now or later, but according to like how many people can be behind the stats table, are we coming up to that, or is there a rule? on
There
that?
is a rule, and I'll find it. Yes.
I know there was one, I'm just, yeah, I'll go for clarification. Thank you.
Also for junior, for our players who work as junior refs, we used to have a requirement as to how many per team, a minimum per team that should be reffing. Because I know some schools have a lot of them and other schools don't put anyone forward, and I think it's really valuable for our varsity players at the minimum to be reffing youth.
Yeah.
So they learn the rules.
I would encourage anyone and everyone to become an official. Some of you might be aware, some of you not. Our college around us has gone from 34 games to 64 games. For those of you that know me, I used to ref 5 days a week at high school. I'm down to 1 because I fly and I'm traveling all of the days doing college. So we are low on officials, beyond low. But yeah, so youth, I think that nothing's in place yet of how many were required for, youth officials, but like I said, anyone and everyone come out and be an official.
Yeah, we're very, very blessed in Oregon with the numbers of very high-quality junior rooms that we have. Adults almost never have to ref a youth game, or never get to ref a youth game, because the junior rooms have it all covered. And nobody around us is in that situation. I'll tell you, Washington sure isn't. So
The junior umps know the rules so well too. I mean, they're helpful.
makes them better players too.
Yeah, for coaches to have them.
So I know my daughter and 2 other players from our team last year took the rugby class through you guys last year, and then they were never notified after that about the practical field. So they never, it's almost like they only got half of their training, and then they never got the practical field. Is there a way to confirm, if they wanted to do that class again, because obviously the rules have changed, some of the rules have changed? How does that, are you aware of that? Did you know that the second part of the practical training didn't happen? Or we can talk about this after, since this is pretty.
Yeah, touch base with us.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'll be here.
Awesome.
Dates are up on the website.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple resources for you guys that are all available on our website. So every year we push out the home team handbook, which there are minor modifications to it, so they get current for the year. But it's helpful if you have a table that's never been a table before, and they maybe don't know what to do or have no idea where to start. So just scroll down a little bit. So it's like the game day checklist. These are all things that you should have in your game day kit that'll help you be successful. There's some, extra things like extra field paint or pop-up tents. Not everyone has those, but these are all great things to start your season with and make sure that they know that they're in the box, ready to go. Always have extra air horns and do not shake them.
Don't shake your
Common misconception, do not shake the air horn. Yeah. And so then it kind of gives you a breakdown for each role on the field, the coaches, what they're supposed to be doing, what the team manager is supposed to be doing. Like I said, I'll send this out so you all have it. And then what the players are supposed to be doing, goes over the idiosyncrasies of their undergarment and their mouth guards. And then during the game, what you should be doing, right? Obviously the highlighted things are things that are either new or important. Like this year, for the timer, the double horn was to signify a timeout. Make sure you know that one. Make sure your table knows that one. So these are just helpful things to read through before the season, just give you some reminders. And then after the game, about sportsmanship, shaking each other's hands, thanking the umpires. And then it obviously goes into where to enter stats and how everyone can view the stats. So we'll go over how to enter those on our website. And then a little bit more detail on the score and timer. And right here, make sure to follow all the details on the card forms.
And all this stuff, as much as it's going to be on the website, we're trying to place a bigger emphasis on the league reps. So as you have league reps, if you have people those are usually tenured coaches that have been around for a little while. So if you have issues and this doesn't make sense, before you go straight up to OGLA, come to your league reps first and see if you can handle it in-house in your own league, and then sort it out. Because as much as we have a lot of knowledge up here and Allie's spouting there's a lot of knowledge in this room and a lot of knowledge with our league reps, so make sure that you're reaching out to those guys to get help on some of this stuff if you have any questions.
There's lots of detail. And this is the stuff that the umpires do, so you can kind of prepare yourself for what they're going to ask for and what they need as well. Because they will ask if you have a game manager or an on-site administrator. And if you don't know what that is, it's kind of hard to say, yes, we do. But it's somebody that can deal with unruly fans, someone that can assist you with anything you might need, anything the umpires might need, or the other team. And so it's just nice to know the expectations. And the rules of emphasis are in here as well, so you can review those. It's fun. So there's some, for those of you who are new to lacrosse, there are some hand signals that the umpires use, so there's a little cheat sheet for your parents if they're interested.
They're interested.
And then the last one is lining girls lacrosse field. There's a little diagram in the back. There's one edit that needs to be made.
Shame.
That's awesome.
And then, let's see, we're going to do the OGLA guide to stats. So there's lots of places that you can go.
Sorry, on the last bit of information.
Oh, sure.
At the table seems to be, I don't know, I couldn't see from this far away. Do you address the table, the parents, the staff keepers to stay neutral and not cheer?
It's in there and it is highlighted.
Okay.
So, I mean, as you all know, the stat keepers, timers, everyone behind the table must be neutral. And this means that they're not cheering. I know that your kid just scored a goal and it's really exciting. Silent cheer, give them a hug after. They know that you love them. You're sitting at the table volunteering. But in terms of cheering for them during the game, maybe put somebody on the other side to cheer for them. Because when you're at the stat table, it's all business. And you need to use that time to communicate with the umpires for illegal substitutions or, hey, we need a running clock, but don't focus on your kid. I mean, I know they're doing a great job, but cheer for them.
And if there are parents that cannot remain neutral, I myself have a few in my club that I love dearly, but cannot remain neutral, tell them to sit on the other side of the field. We love our volunteers and we want them to spend their time with us, but if they cannot remain neutral, they will be asked to go to the other side. So just make sure you're kind of taking a good stock of who you've got volunteering and know what they're great at. And if they're better at really being that cheerleader on the other side, then that's where they should be. So.
Any other questions on the handbook?
How many volunteers can you have for each?
Cam, did you find the official rule on that?
I'm still working on this.
Okay.
Cam will have the USL rule.
Oh, did you say you're making this available to us hard copy or sending it?
It will come in email form, and it will also be available in the documents game day resources section of our website. It's already up there now. It's just last year's information.
Yeah.
So
I remember a couple of years ago, we did actually have
I mean, we're trying to be paperless,
I know.
trying to save paper.
My advice to you, if you have new people on the table or new volunteers, is print it out and tuck it in your game day box. Just make sure you can laminate for a few pages, make sure that they've got it, and just have this resource on hand.
Okay, so moving on to statistics. There are lots of places where you can go to find out about women's lacrosse stats. US Lacrosse has a whole section on it. OGLA has a few things tucked away in the document section as well, including this piece. And then we also have example stat sheets. I know a lot of people purchase the Rhine or whatnot books. Those are fantastic. Other people prefer just one sheet per game. It's totally up to you. But there's lots of things out there, so do your research and find a good stat book that works for you. There are some required stats, so let's make sure that they have the right columns in there. So everyone focuses a lot on stats. The kids are always online looking, oh, look at all the stats from this game, look at the stats from this game. And so it's important to remember that there's a reason why we provide them. It not only makes our kids better, but also lets us see our goals as a team, and it allows us to compare ourselves to other teams. So it's not all about stats, right? A win and a loss it's not the only thing that matters. Stats matter too. So when you're sitting at the table taking stats, it's good to make sure you're actually paying attention. Because when your kid goes, how many assists did I get? And you were the one sitting at the table and you're like, oh, I forgot to record the assists. Uh-oh, I only recorded the goals. So it's good to be thorough and to have someone who's spotting the stats and someone who's recording them. It's hard to do it all by yourself. I've sat at a table and tried to do it. I've also sat there with 3 people and it's still difficult. So it just takes a lot of effort and focus. One of the reasons why you probably shouldn't be cheering for your kid. And then in terms of consistency, that's important too. If you have 2 people at this table who think a ground ball is something different, it's not great. So using our guidelines, those are a great thing to provide to your parents. So everyone has the same idea of what counts as a ground ball, what counts as a cause turnover. We want to set a precedent for what a stat actually is, so that way Glencoe's stats are no different than Westview's stats. We want everyone to be comparable across the board. And then timely reporting, we want to make sure that those stats are in no later than 10 a.m. the following day. That way we can go back, look, check out cards, all that good stuff. Again, league representatives will be responsible for checking into this and helping us regulate. With there being, I think, 63 teams? There's almost 70 teams. It's hard for me to go check every single person's games. So we want to make sure that we're doing it timely and our league reps are taking care of us and helping us point out where we might be lagging a little.
Do you know anything about Huddle? It's an online video service that you can subscribe to. And I know for basketball, they started offering where you have to pay more for the service, but they will analyze the stats for your game. And I had my assistant look today, and it does say it does lacrosse, but I'm wondering if anybody's familiar if it actually does the stats completely that you would need for the OGLA purposes.
That's something Sean's looked into. Yes, they will provide stat service for you. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it does require the game to be filmed in order to do it. So
right.
you're gonna have to have.
Tablet. Actually, if you sign up, they give you a tablet, like an iPad to.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
you just have because we use it in basketball.
Gotcha.
I would say my experience with the basketball side of it is that it does a relatively good job. But if I look at the stats I took in the book versus what Huddle puts out, it's definitely not the same. It's probably 80–90% good. So as far as, you know, having lacrosse stats that transition into accuracy as far as, you know, picking teams for conference or all-state, I think it's probably better to have whoever's on the field trained well to do it, so you have consistency.
But therein lies the challenge,
Yeah.
because, you know, consistency and it's so subjective. I mean,
Right.
I'm a volleyball person, and stats can be like so subjective, and then, yeah, you're basing really important things to kids on it, and if you don't have well-trained people and it's kind of
Right.
random, then.
And they won't stat it for you in time to turn it in.
You know,
It takes
Takes a
Well,
couple
you can pay
days.
for different services, they'll do it, you can do it in 12 hours or 24 hours, depends on how much money you want to
you
pay.
spend $40 a game, it's,
Yeah, so I mean, they'll do it, but I'm just wondering if anybody had used it, if it actually would meet the standards of what they expect.
I haven't heard of anybody who's actually been successful using it. I mean, I know Sean uses pedals for a variety of things.
yeah, she really likes it. It's something we're looking into, and I think it's like $1,000 too,
Yeah,
right?
it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not.
We use
But, you know,
crossover, but it doesn't,
Yeah.
there's discrepancy.
You know, we did the poor man's version last year. We film every game. We enter the stats at night as we see them, but then we go back and look at the film and we correct anything that we need to correct or add or delete. And we'll usually do that within a couple days. And you know, generally, if you're filming it, you can catch most of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way we use crossover is maybe if we've gotten something wrong, I can check my stats against it, but we don't.
Yeah, I mean, us doing it on the ground is probably the most effective way to do it. I know that there is a fear of consistency, but I think with everyone using the same tools to define what each stat is will help. So just stick to the USL guides. They'll be very helpful, and the rest of this, is useful as well.
I mean, I will say, I think that it's hard to be the keeper of all stats and sit at the table, right? You know, we have our table person just get the ones that have to go in the book and have somebody, another team elsewhere on the field recording the ones that we record at night, because there's a team of 2 people, they're talking, they're like ground ball, you know, and it's loud when you're doing it. And the chatter at the table is hard when you hear the people there calling ground balls and who did that assist and stuff like that. So I think it's easier for people to do it not at the table, or kind of
That's what we do too.
Yeah.
We do the same thing. And we have about 4 people at
They
any
sit
one time.
together and
Yeah, and they're like, was that a ground ball? Was that a cause turnover?
if you have anybody who plays
Somebody's
lacrosse, get
confirming.
them in that huddle of people.
I mean,
You
the
get
more
better stats.
people we can train to do this,
Yeah.
obviously we're required to have people at the table and taking care of it.
But I'd say those
But
people.
in addition to
it's
them,
hard,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. That guess and check methodology is great. More eyes on the ball, the better.
Yeah.
Because obviously somebody with more experience is going to see something else. So it's always great to start that dialogue. And the more people you get trained, I mean, we only have these kids and parents for 4 years, and if we're lucky, maybe even 8. But getting those people trained is hard, and so it's just good to create a community around it.
I think you bring up such a good point. Hi again. The less, I think we do very well with one spotter and one person writing and logging. Any more than that, I think it actually kind of mucks it up. But on the other side of the field, we're kind of experimenting with people in the stands, kind of watching and learning. I've had issues with playing teams and they have like 6 people on their side. And then it's such a small community, everybody knows everybody and everybody starts talking, and then it can be great and it can be not able to focus. So, but
Right.
the idea of separating them is probably good.
It's good to have the people at the table do the ones that are required to
Yes.
report.
Yeah.
And then if there's anything like coach wants to see X, Y, Z, how many of these kinds of cuts are our kids doing, leave that to the people on the other side of the field so that they can do that. Yeah, I agree.
And just little tricks of the trade, waterproof paper, for those of you without a tent, or, find yourself with a soaked sheet every once in a while. When you rush to mark things down, use a pencil so you're not constantly crossing things out. Like I said, not a solo job, get a spotter. Know your players, if they have this headband that they wear, you might be able to see that faster than you can see their jersey. Get to know your kids, it'll be easier. And then, like Susan said, build up if you can. Do a second set of stats or designate someone to a specific item that they're looking for. That might make things easier. So these are the required stats for the OGLA stat books. So obviously the games played, that is calculated anytime you enter a score for a kid, it'll mark that she has played a game. Even if she stepped in for two seconds, she's played a game, she's entered, you will actually check that off on your stats, because at that point, even if they don't have a recorded stat, like they don't have a ground ball, they don't have a shot, they still win in the game. So you have to check her off. Obviously goals, shots, assists, draw controls, ground balls, cause turnovers, and cards. So there's a spot for yellow and red cards. There are some calculated fields in there, so based on the information that we input, it'll spit out a shot percentage, points, which is the goals and assists, and then points per game. In terms of the goalie stats, once you mark them off, we'll have a game played, minutes of actual time. If you have a goalie that plays the entire game, she played 50 minutes. So you can mark that off. Please make sure you put the minutes in there, because it does go into the calculation. It looks funny on our side if you don't put anything in there. And then it has you put in shots and saves. It will calculate a save percentage for you, and spit it out on the other side. If you have a goalie that plays both field and in the goal, and she perhaps wears 2 different numbers, she will be on your roster twice. There's no way around this. I spent half an hour trying to figure it out today, and I did last season as well. There's no way around it, so she will just be on there twice. You'll have to put her in as a player with your number on the field, and then a goalie with your number on the goal. That's the best way to do it. She'll then have 2 sets of stats, because you have to identify her by the jersey that she's wearing.
Just, and last year I think there was an issue with if it was a goalie that played in the field and they had the same number, we had a problem getting, they had the goalie stat, but we had a problem getting their player stats up in there. Do you know if that was addressed? I tried, and I'd have to go back and look. I traded emails with somebody last year trying to figure out what was
I'll
going
look
on.
at it again.
I don't have any problem with that.
I don't have a problem because they get ground ball stats,
Right.
and that's like player stat.
Right, so it might be, I'll look at it again to see, but, because I entered them in today, the same concept of using that same player, and it allowed me to enter both field and goal stats.
And then just a reminder on the goalie stuff, because we still see it getting messed up, right? The saves plus the goals scored should equal the shots.
Correct. So, and this is one of the definitions that we'll have to look at, is the definition of a shot for a player versus a shot for a goalie. So, if as a field player, if I make a shot, I made an attempt on the goal, it is a shot. But if that shot went all the way over there, it's still a shot for me, but it's not a shot for her, right? For a goalie, the shot has to be on frame and have the potential to go in if she does not touch it or does not make an attempted save.
Roll.
Right, it could roll over that goal line.
It's a save.
Right. So, and if it ricochets off the post, it's not a save. It's a shot for me. It's not a save. So there are some definitions to go over that they are outlined in later parts of this PDF.
They won't always add up, so I've seen my daughter score on herself. So,
Are you going over any of the
More than
stat
once.
interpretations in this meeting, or sometimes there's a separate meeting for
I
that?
think we don't have a separate meeting set. I can answer any questions. Pat can help me out with stats. If anyone has any specific questions or anything they want to go over specifically, they go into great detail in these worksheets that we have. And they're very useful. I would highly recommend everyone going over them, whether you keep stats or not. It's helpful even as a coach to be able to recommend your team, especially if you're looking through your stats and not seeing what you want to see. But any specific questions that you have or anything you want clarification on, we can definitely touch on. It's why we left stats for the end, so we can go as long as you guys wanted on that. Yeah, it's all about finding what works for you. Just you gotta get the basics, and then from that you can do whatever you need to do. These are some example stat sheets. I know this is really small.
Richard's got a question.
Don't ask the ref, we don't know.
Yeah. No idea.
But does that count as a shot?
They're not great stat keepers. They don't care. There are two kinds of stat books that they have. I personally prefer this one that you circle the number of whatever stat it is, so that there's numbers preloaded in there. Some people prefer the other where you can use tally marks or whatever. It's totally up to you. I feel like most of the stat books out there, I think the Brian one has the numbers in like this.
And then Brian has an error, and it's had an error for like the last 10 years on like 2 of the slots. So if you just look at like, oh, it says 6, it's actually 1 less than you think it is.
It's
So
skipped
count the
5.
circle. Yeah. It's stupid, it's been there forever. I actually emailed Brian about it. They still haven't fixed it. It's still on the 2019 one, so, you know, just count the circles on that one.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Where's the best place to buy a scoreboard?
I usually just get mine at Dick's. I go early, they run out. So if you go the day before your first game, do not recommend.
If you have someone that's good with spreadsheets, a suggestion would be to create one that mirrors how the stats go into OGLA, so you can do them quickly at night.
It's on an 11 by
So much
17
easier.
sheet of paper, and then you take the visiting team and you can load them up.
Right on there.
Everything's already loaded
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in number order, and it makes it real easy to
What-
keep them.
What was killing us the first time we did it was, this was cause turnovers, this was ground ball, and the OGLA website had ground balls first and cause turnovers second, and yeah, so just mirror the
Yeah, we
OGLA
just
site.
sort our sheet out so that it matches what OGLA
Yep.
wants, and then as long as the visiting team has the roster updated, right, I just cut and paste that
Yep.
onto the visiting page, and it's all loaded up in there. Makes it real easy.
Nice.
I'll hire him out.
If you have it look like the OGLA page, Ross, stats take like 10 minutes
Yeah.
after your game.
Yeah, it's easy.
Oh, yeah. And for those of you who have never seen how stats are entered, we'll go there real quick.
And you can just do the stats there.
Put their actual name
That's right.
on the game report for the refs,
Yeah.
because when we get back, we don't know who CC is. We need her actual name.
Yeah, so when you fill out the card reporting, please put all of their information. I know that you know who number 5 is, but
Oh, you know
the
who all
refs
their
need to
names
know
are.
first and last and number, so they can identify the business.
It's that when they switch, and then we're like, wait a second, she was 5, what happened here? That's when we get confused.
So League Athletics has an app that you can put on your phone for coaches. So the home team is responsible for entering the score after a game. It has to be done by midnight. There's an app that you can do that's super easy. You just go, put in the score, call it a day. It's just League Athletics. Use the same login that you use for the OGLA site. It's not user-friendly for stats. I don't recommend it for really anything other than the score. It's kind of convoluted and sticky. But it's helpful for the score, so you don't have to open up the full browser every time. So through the OGLA website, to enter your stats, you can just go and choose your team. And then click on results. And you can see any games that have already happened. So looks like Westview played Sherwood on Sunday. And you click on this little button. And if there hasn't been a score entered, it'll prompt you to say, okay, well, Westview had 4 goals, Sherwood had 9. If there's any comments you need to make, like, we had to stop the game due to lightning after 85% complete, go ahead, put that in the comments. These comments, mind you, are visible to everyone. So please, only information, no opinion. So you can hit submit and have the score done. And it'll appear from your perspective, so I'm looking at it as a Westview coach, so we lost 4-9. Also from this screen, you can go through the stats. So I want to go enter Westview's stats. And obviously I only have one.
No wonder they lost.
I mean, but, so if she stepped on the field, we'll check her off right there. Maybe she had 1 shot, 0 goals, and 1 assist. So this is the format that if you create your own stat sheet you want to look at, just look at it from left to right. That'll really help you. having entered stats for a year or two, it is confusing to jump back and forth, so that would help. And then over here, you have your red and yellow cards. You always want to make sure to fill those out. You won't put any stats in for the other team. So you'll just click on your tab, save and finish, and then they'll be available for viewing immediately. So you can click on the little green guy, and it'll show you all of Western's stats.
On the red card, you said you wanted an email, right?
Yes, so you put them in the stat sheet and you email me.
Do you need to know what the red card was issued for?
Yes, please.
Because the problem's gonna be, they've taken the form away, and unless we've written it down somewhere else, we'll probably forget.
Right, so go ahead and write
They're
that
so
down.
rare, I think you would remember it.
Yeah, in the case of a red card,
Well-
I mean, in the case of any egregious card, it might be beneficial to take a picture of that thing before you give it to the refs and then include that in the email.
Are you talking straight red or double yellow?
Well, double yellows do not prevent them from playing the next
So you
game.
don't need email on that?
No, and I'll get, if there's lots of yellows, I'll get a report from them as well. But just simply the red cards.
Straight red.
Because what I do, and those of you whose teams have never received a red card may not know this, but you guys report them to me, and then I reach out to the coach of the team that received the red card, letting them know that Susie May is not eligible for their game on Thursday, and that she can, she cannot dress in uniform, but she must be present on the sideline, blah, 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 to serve her penalty. I think, has that changed this year? There's something about the red cards this year that may have changed. I'll put that in.
Just, USL said, whatever your state says.
Oh, okay.
Because some states were saying she can't come to the game, but the rule book said she had to.
She has to serve her penalty.
Ours is you serve your penalty in your bench area, not dressed in your uniform. So that's the rule that,
That was Scarlet R, the red card.
But that's what the email's for. I make sure that everybody knows. And I also CC their opponent on Thursday to let them know, hey, this should be happening, because there's nothing worse than somebody forgetting or somebody not knowing and, somebody going out there when they shouldn't be. So,
Do we need to do JV stats?
yep, JV stats are also required, and same for card reporting. You'll do the exact same thing you will for varsity. So it's good to have multiple levels. You get those freshman parents train up really nice when they work the JV stats. That way when they get to the varsity level, they're good and they know what's going on. Any questions on that?
So you got some of the things that were called game ball recognition goalies.
Oh, the goalie stats. So the game ball recognition, it was a pilot and it's not going to go through. But the goalie stats, this is where you will enter. So if Mackenzie was a goalie, we would mark her down. So she's the only one. She played 50 minutes. And then shots on cage. And her goals against, 9. So her goals against are going to obviously match the other team's score, right?
So if she has, say, an interception or ground ball or anything like that, then you get those statistics.
You'll enter that in as a player stat. So,
Even if she's within the cage the whole time.
yep. So goalies can earn player stats for ground balls, cause turnovers,
So the cost rate.
Assists.
She intercepts the ball, that's the cost rate.
And a ground ball.
and a ground ball. This is our Pat zone. My stat guy.
It's roll.
Yes. The
Yeah.
ground ball isn't really
Yeah.
a ground ball, it's just a change of possession.
So if she.
Over a contested ball.
If she intercepts the ball, it's a ground ball. and-
That's the one that's missed. Has to be a
Yep.
contested ball.
Yep.
Yeah, if you put the ball up there, it's down low.
This is the stats guide that USL produces for us. It says 2017, but I looked today, they have
If
not
there's a
produced new
change of
ones in
possession,
2017, so I am current.
Cause turnover by somebody.
But it does go through
Ground
all
ball.
of these
And it
items.
could be the same player.
So that way you can look through here and get a better idea of exactly what we're talking about when we ask for a shot. A shot is any attempt made by a player to score a goal, right? So that's just a player stat, not a goalie stat. It'll go into detail later about what a goalie shot is as well. These are just great tools for you to have available to you and your stat team to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But it does go into great detail. That's why we ask for questions or clarifications, because we could be here all night for this. And I saw Jason.
No, you answered my question. I was going to ask about the goalie staff.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, the goalie stats are important because it does auto-calculate, so if you don't put in the games played or minutes played, it may show that they have, 100% save rate because they haven't played any minutes.
Right.
So it is important all of those things factor in to make sure you fill out every box. Matt, do you have any hot topics for stats you want to go over?
No, I would say that other document that you just showed, I've read that probably 15 times. I have to keep going back to it because scenarios come up that you just think, I can't remember. And you go back and read that document. Pretty soon it becomes pretty, 95% of it becomes pretty easy to remember, what's a ground ball, what's a cause turnover, what's a shot, what's a save, et cetera, et cetera. But don't try to read it once and then go do stats. That's tough. So.
I know for our program too, like the parent group has been awesome over the years. Again, going with those freshman parents, really like getting mentored by varsity parents, learning that, and then having. I know that in our game box, it is super essential for them to all have these like laminated cheat sheets of like what everything is. And also if there's a new person, that is kind of like filling in. Oh my gosh. Joe couldn't come and do it today, so I'm filling in. They have these things that are black and white, plain as day. Make sure that, a little bit before the game, I know coaches all focus and getting their kids warmed up, but if they've done it right and they train their kids right, they're going to have a few minutes to talk to the table, and the table needs to know. You guys have to have good communication with each other so that they, as a coach, they know what you're looking for, and in my stat book, there's a bunch of stuff that I don't care about, so I put a line through it, and I'm like, don't even sweat that stuff, because they get confused by it. So just make sure that you're communicating with your table, and a few games in, you guys are going to be solid, but if there's other questions, there's loads of resources, and also, I can't stress enough, those league reps, I'm one of them, so I know I'm making more work for myself, but I'd rather be able to help and answer questions, immediately than have it wait, and especially during the season when we're all busy coming through OGLA for a stat question, because we've got those down. So.
Do you guys have a universal cheat sheet or we make ours? I mean, I make one, but.
I have a couple ones saved on my computer. I will pull them together. I think Lynn Porterfield sent me a timer cheat sheet and stuff like that, and I'll look at our Westview ones and see.
Draw control.
Yeah. So I'll mock those up and put those on the website too, what we have.
And I feel like it's something that I shouldn't have to say, or that none of us should have to say, but again, going back to those parents that need to remain neutral, we need to make sure that our stat keepers are pretty neutral, because if all of a sudden Sally's getting 85 draw controls when that really wasn't the case, we just need to make sure that, because it's beneficial not only for the player, not only for the, but for the spirit of the game, to have it as spot on as possible. It shouldn't have to be said, but I know even from previous parents that have been doing their best, I see them be like, on Sally, and I'm like, oh. When I go back and watch it, it's not the case. So just make sure everyone's on the up and up there.
This might be a question for you guys there. That when there is a yellow card or a red card issue, what's the player, they're supposed to be in front of the table?
Yeah, so in the table area, so they're supposed to kneel in front of the table, not receiving coaching. They can be given water, but they're separate from the subs, so that way the table can manage that.
Can they have a stick with them?
Yes.
Kneeling or sitting by rule.
Yeah.
And then it keeps them out of your field of vision, and it also, when we're out running up and down the field, that's our visual cue to, are we playing man down still, or are we all even? It's the only thing the boys' game does better than the girls' game. They announce. And the penalties out. I don't know why we don't.
And when it comes to that, if you find that there's another coach, like if you're a coach on one side, the opposing team has a kid in there and they're coaching, you need to train your table to be the one to be like, hey, no coaching. It shouldn't be the coach going, no coaching over there, coach. Don't limit that interaction, especially if it's a close game. Believe me, I've been there and I don't like doing that, and I'd rather have my table know what's up to be able to be like, hey, no coaching in the sub box, please, and then it's done. So, yes, sir.
Can you work with your OGLA counterparts to produce the specific reference that talks about the no coaching? I only ask because every year there seems to be a controversy about it. And I just want to make sure it's a real thing if we're going to preach the gospel, unlike the stick between the legs is always a foul.
Right.
Right? Because that is not the case.
Because I have.
So it would be great to actually have that reference, but
Yeah.
I've had arguments about it where people think it's not. and
I
some
will
think it is.
have my
Thank
rules
you.
over here find it.
Yeah, awesome. Great. You should publish it.
Okay, we will reference it on the home team responsibility handbook when we find it. Because that is, I have looked for it as well as a coach because it infuriates me as well, and I can never find it. So, and they do call me a rule book. So.
Well, there is a difference
Is this
between coaching a
between the legs
player
about?
and telling them to calm down and knock it off. And I have had to do that. If you have a player who
Good
is
to know.
come off the field and is now misbehaving in the box.
Right.
I've had my own player do that, where you have to walk over and say,
Yep.
stop, or you're gone.
Yeah, there's the pull yourself together
You're
from the
not
coach.
always
that
coaching.
Right.
should be allowed.
Parenting?
Coach mentoring.
Yeah, yeah.
Psychological counseling.
Unfortunately.
Any other questions?
Is it safe to assume that schedules we submitted are gonna be the ones that we can use? Are we gonna be asked to make a bunch of changes again this year?
Well, after the preliminary look over, there are far less changes than last year so far. It's been submitted to the umpires, and I'm waiting for their feedback to know what their high volume game, Cam's feedback, to know what their high volume game nights are for college, and what kind of availability their umpires have. So as soon as they get something back to me, that's when I'll start spewing out. But after last year when I looked at it, we actually didn't do very well with the 2 games per league per night, and so there were so many sites that there were nights we had 20 sites on schedule, and this year our maximum I think was 13 with some outlying areas, so that was pretty good for us. I think we did a good job spreading out our schedule this year. I'm really excited for how they look, but we will definitely get feedback and know hopefully soon what that looks like.
I would say soon. Yeah.
In a
I'm
week.
hoping by the end of the week.
Because our families want to know.
Oh, definitely.
Transportation and all.
Certainly, yeah.
all those-
We want to know.
Yeah.
They want to know, I want to know, so as soon as they spit it back to me, we'll get it uploaded on the website, any changes from there, we'll make correct from there, so yeah. Yes.
What if we're adding 1 or 2 games right now? Like, should we send it to our rep and then?
As soon as you have those solidified, send them to your rep, and they can send me to the pile they have waiting. Obviously, the umpires have everything already, and anything that they get assigned first is priority unless it's a league game and we have to make adjustments. But we'll do our best. Once we get everything on the website, you'll be able to see the nights that don't have very many games, and that might help tailor when you schedule something. So we do hope to have that on the website and available before the 22nd, so you can look. Yeah. Any other questions for us about anything, stats, otherwise? Okay, I have one last pitch for you. I'm actually gonna let you out early, but, so,
I'm sorry, what's the penalty for not entering and not letting you guys know? Because there's some teams that don't do it.
for red cards?
No, don't enter stats or scores or.
So, in terms of scores, I know that morning because I'm on the hunt for them to enter the last year's enter them with the lax power. And I get notifications as well when you guys don't enter scores, and I know that they're also incessant when we don't enter scores as coaches. So there is no penalty at this point. What we're tasking our league reps with right now is to help us be more vigilant of things that aren't getting entered and encourage people and assist if they're having trouble. Because very often you have a coach that has no help, that's not entering them or whatnot. So it's all about communication and trying to make sure that other people know. Because I get emails that say, oh, so-and-so didn't enter stats. And so then I reach out to them and say, hey, you need to enter stats, and then it happens every week. So what we're trying to do is put the league reps on that so they can help mitigate those issues. Obviously if you notice there's somebody that isn't entering stats is outside of your league, you can email me. I'll email the league rep, I'll email the coach to get them to enter them in. We're doing our best to get everybody entering stats. Since they are required for both JV and varsity, we have to make sure they get into the system.
And, you know, in terms of not just stats, but if there's multiple cards or teams that are having, you know, lots of cards throughout the season and those are entered, there are penalties for things like that. So if we're noticing that there's like all of a sudden 55 yellow cards for a team, those are going to be things that trigger OGLA into having people come and watch your games, maybe disciplinary action for coaches, coming in and having refs coming and doing things. So that's really kind of like, we want to just keep sportsmanship going up and up. So really, those cards are super important to get entered, so that we can kind of keep an eye out for that, keep everybody safe.
So for the red cards, I understand we have to write down, we email you, put it in there and all that. So for the yellow cards, do we have to write, can we write down what the yellow cards is for?
So on the card reporting sheet, you fill it out completely. When you enter the stat into the system, you just have to put it on for it. They got one yellow card, 2 yellow cards. You don't have to write what it was for in the system. Only red cards do you need to report who the player is, their number, what they did, and, you know, when they got it. Is that night it has to be reported to you.
So when we're filling the sheet out before the yellow card, this is, how do you know? I'm not gonna know what the yellow card is for. How do you know that?
The umpire will come to the table and say, you know,
Even on yellow card?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get a very clear,
Okay.
and if it's not clear, get on that horn. Toot, 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 toot. Hey, come here, tell me what it was.
Okay. 'Cause I needed
And it's a game report, not a card report.
yes.
So even if there were no yellow cards, et cetera, during the game, make sure your umpire goes away with the report, because they're gonna go home and go, what was the score? What do I enter?
We're now asking for these forms after each game, so that's why, regardless of, like at the beginning of the game, just fill it out. If you don't use it, hand it to the ref. Like, so.
And I recommend having more than one, because there are only spots for 4 cards. That's why I print out a stack of them, have them ready. We usually just keep a big stack of them in a little folder with all our sheets.
Because your opponent might get 5 yellow cards.
That is true. It has
It's not your
happened.
team.
It's not. So, does that help clarify? It does have, so, you know, if you hear them check to the head, there are options to just check a box. You don't have to write it in there too.
Okay.
You can see that from there. It tells you, you know, the type it prompts you to fill something out. It's not just okay. So, on my last pitch of the evening, because I have you all here. As you all know, OGLA and OGYLA merged, and part of our merger has us with 4 different subcommittees, or 4 different committees, as part of growing the game in Oregon and becoming a bigger, better community. So there are 4 different committees that you can join as a non-board member to come help with projects. If there's something that you're passionate about, there's something you want to change, you know, if you have ideas for us to become better, we encourage you to come out to these communities, or these committee meetings, and talk about it. We have a high school committee, which is going to talk about the all-state selection. It's going to talk about maybe events that the high school wants to put on, stuff like that. It's going to talk about playoffs, how we can, you know, work together as a community of high school. There's the youth committee that will work on like the jamboree, various youth events that they want to put on. There's a sportsmanship committee, which in the past has been part of the youth. They do pins and various items. So that's something you can be a part of to maybe we want to do a sportsmanship seminar or stuff like that, if you have ideas. And then there's the growth and outreach, which is like trilax, or getting, you know, grants for, one of the things that we did this year is we got a grant to allow some of those new coaches for half off their level 1 training, which is great. So there are all these committees available. There'll be an email in the next week about them. Please, 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 if you want to be a part of our community and not be on the board, this is a great way to do that, get your voice heard, and help us with some cool projects. So respond to that email. We'll put you on an email list. Even if you can't make every single meeting, still being on that email list, knowing what's happening in our community is a great way to contribute. We're only so big, we all have to give back at some point. So.
That's a good question. We've got a injured athlete who will not be playing but wants to help coach. So we've got to register as US lacrosse. Is there anything else? Does she have to go through all the same hoops as an adult coach as far as the classes?
Is she 18?
I don't know. I
She
don't
has-
think so.
She has to be 18 to be considered a volunteer coach.
So she cannot be a practice and help out in any other fashion?
She will need to be registered as a player, and be a part of your team.
Okay.
So still have the USL number and everything.
Okay.
She will not be a coach.
If she was over 18, then she would be the coach and then an assistant, and
She
she'd have
would be an
to do
assistant
all
or
the classes.
volunteer. But she's a player, so. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone who attended. We'll get all those documents out on the website and have.
Oh, time out really quick. Sorry, there was a list that went around that had program name, your title, all that stuff. Did everyone sign that? If you did not sign that, it's over at that back table. Please sign it before you leave.
Cam, is there any word on that?
So, yeah, on this
Oh, you're welcome. Take care.